In today's episode, we're extracting not one, but two Saab power plants in a quest for automotive greatness. Prepare for an episode filled with speedy wrenching, disgusting transmissions, and the start of my towing company.
All my friends, hello rider.
What's up, Fred? Say hello to the people of YouTube. Fat ass. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode. So, as most of you know, I went on a little skiing trip, which was absolutely wonderful. But I also used that time to think about what the next step is going to be for the Saab 900 project. And what I have decided is that we are going to be pulling the engine in this episode, and let me quickly show you the reason. So here we are on the underside of the engine and gearbox. Right over here you can see that there is a cheeky little oil leak, and I think that is coming from the crankshaft seal. And unfortunately, due to where it is located, it does seem like it is impossible to change that without pulling out the entire gearbox and engine. So that is what we are going to be doing. And although that might seem like bad news, there are actually a lot of positive things about this, but we'll discuss those later once everything is out of the car. I have one of these handy repair manuals that includes a full guide on how to pull the engine and gearbox. And the first step that they advise to do is to pull the hood. So let's start there. Next, I'm going to drain the coolant and disconnect all the radiator hoses. I love the smell of coolant in the morning. I'm going to remove the radiator as well, but I think it's going to be easier if all of this air ducting is gone. The radiator is now held in with these two bolts, I think. Okay. Now I'm going to disconnect the remainder of the coolant hoses, the expansion tank, and some of these vacuum lines. And now the fuel lines. I took this 13mm spanner and ground it down a little bit just so that I have enough access to undo the clutch line. For the power steering system, I think I just need to undo those two bottom lines, but to avoid making a mess, I'm going to first empty the container. Here we have the speedo cable. This is where the shifter goes into the gearbox, and I think by undoing this nut and then knocking out the bolt, we should be able to separate them. That didn't really work out, so now I'm going to try undoing this pinch bolt. I've put the transmission in first gear and then the gear stick in fourth, and it did seem like they were separating, but I think we need some additional movement from the engine to separate the shift linkage completely. Now I think the last step that we need to do in order to be able to take off the engine mounts is to disconnect the drive shafts. If you want to separate the drive shafts from the gearbox, my manual states that it is a good idea to put a spacer in between of the upper control arm and the body. So that's why I went ahead and ground these two leftover sockets down to the proper size. And I've also lowered the car onto my jack with the front wheel. That way we get a little bit more compression, and then I can slide these two in. And now let's raise the car and take off the wheel. Now if we take out these two bolts, we should be able to pull the whole knuckle that way, and that should provide us with enough space to take out the drive shaft. Gucci. Now there's one more thing to do before we can pull the engine, and that is to take off the exhaust. Haha. So guys, as you can see, I have borrowed an engine crane. I've also loosened the engine mount on this side and this side. So now we only have to disconnect that one, and then the whole thing can come out. So guys, the engine came out and it was pretty easy. The compact design of the engine and gearbox really makes it super helpful to get the engine out. So kudos to Saab for making my life very easy. And now we're going to be talking about the proceedings of this video, because obviously I'm not only going to fix the leak which was the cause for the engine pull, but we're also going to do some other stuff. So first of all, I want to be cleaning up the entire engine compartment, and that means cleaning up both the engine bay and the engine itself. In the past, we have already done some efforts to clean up the engine by vapor honing, for example, the valve cover, the intake manifold, the carburetor, and some other stuff. But there are still some things that are bugging me. There have been some brackets repainted very sloppily. The engine itself also hasn't been painted that well. So I'm going to try to make this overall unit look a bit fresher. And in the meanwhile, we can also change some of the gaskets here around the area of the distribution chain. And for the engine bay itself, I'm planning on doing a full respray because currently it has been painted in black and it was done with a mix of glossy and matte black rattle cans. It looks really bad. So now that the engine is out, it is a good moment to paint it again in the car's factory color. And to avoid any painting fiascos like in the previous episode, I will be doing all of the sanding and the prep work, but for the painting part itself, I will call in some reinforcements. So that is my game plan regarding the engine bay cleanup, but there is something else that I want to do. And I know that there will be a lot of people in the comment section begging me to swap this thing with the 2-liter 16 valve that is sitting in the gray Saab on my driveway. And I have to be honest, it did cross my mind to do that, but there are a couple of reasons why I'm not going to. First of all, the Belgian legislation is just horrible when it comes to engine swaps, so passing MOT will be difficult every 2 years, and I just don't want that worry on my mind. I really want this to be a turnkey and enjoy it type of car. And then second of all, also for the resale value, it might be better that it just is original with the matching numbers engine. But what I do want to do is maybe steal the 5-speed gearbox that is in the grey Saab and put it onto this engine. That way we have a 5-speed instead of a 4-speed, which means that the RPMs will come down on the highway and it will be a much nicer car to drive for long distances. And that is worth doing for me. Unfortunately, I have stolen so many parts of the grey Saab that it is no longer drivable on its own. And I don't really feel like doing the engine pull right there on my driveway. So what I am going to try to do is hook it up to our trusty Audi A6 Allroad, and then hopefully we will be able to tow it onto the driveway and then push it into the shop. And here we have engine number 2 to pull. The process should be very similar. The only difference here is that I'm in a bit of a hurry because tonight I need to return the engine crane that I borrowed. So better get to it. So here we have engine number 2 and it came out without any drama. I also managed to return the engine hoist in time, so that is great. But then it was annoying that I couldn't lift this engine up anymore. So the way I solved that was by making 2 of these engine carts to move the engines around. And then using my lift, it is possible to put a chain around one of these arms and then we can lift up the engines if needed. And actually we might already put that theory to practice because I want to try getting this gearbox off already because it is super disgusting. That way if it's separated I can take it to work tomorrow and already degrease it. So let's give that a shot. I'm going to start with removing this cover. And now let's take out the input shaft.
Excellent.
Now I'm going to loosen all the transmission bolts and hopefully it will separate from the engine. So here we have the transmission, and as I said before, it is absolutely disgusting. So before we're going to do anything with it, I'm going to degrease it at work, and once that is done, we'll take a closer look at it. And boom, this is our fully cleaned Saab transmission, and I have to say, I am super stoked with how clean it came out. So right after it came out of the degreaser, it was already looking 10 times better than before, but unfortunately I kept finding plenty of spots where the oily residue kind of etched itself into the aluminum, and it made the overall gearbox look very bad. So that is why I decided that I was going to vapor hone the entire thing. And yeah, this is the result after 1 hour of blasting. Although vapor honing or aqua blasting is incredible, there are also some downsides to it, and the main one for me is that I'm always afraid that there is some of the blasting media getting inside of the object that I'm cleaning. In this case, I did try to mask off the gearbox as well as possible, and I think we did all right. But I want to be 100% sure that nothing got inside of it, so what we are going to be doing in the next episode is taking all of these covers off, and we're going to have a look inside. And then we're going to grab that opportunity to, one, change out all of the gaskets, and also we're going to be zinc coating all of the bolts because yeah, they are already starting to rust again. And now regarding this engine, I am probably going to list that up for sale at some point, maybe right after I'm sure that there are no more parts off of it that I need. But I am totally clueless as to what these things are worth, so if there are any experienced Saab people watching that can give me a price indication, I would very much appreciate it. Remember, it does have good compression and it runs, so it is probably worth something, maybe not much, but I'll take what I can get. And actually, if you guys have any other tips regarding the project that I'm doing, feel free to leave a comment. I really appreciate it, because pretty much after every video there is at least one comment that really helps me out, and that is also why I read every single one of them. So yeah, that is pretty much going to be it for today's video. I really enjoyed wrenching again. It feels like it has been ages since I've done something else than bodywork, and I am super excited for what is to come for the Saab project, and I hope you guys are as well. Thank you for watching, and until next time.